Once, in a village nestled beneath the mighty baobab trees, there lived a young woman named Amina. The village, called Nkwazi, was famous for its breathtaking beauty, surrounded by lush forests, flowing rivers, and fields that turned golden with the seasons' change. Amina was not a princess, but her story was one that would be told for generations. For she possessed a heart and spirit that could not be confined by the expectations of her people. Amina was the daughter of the village's best weaver, Mama Tiba. Her mother's hands were always busy, creating intricate cloths with vibrant patterns that told the history of their ancestors. Mama Tiba would often tell Amina stories of their people's past, while weaving the threads of her life into the fabric of their culture. But Amina's heart was restless. She longed for a love that would be her own, pure and true, not dictated by status, wealth, or the village's traditions. The village had a custom that once young women came of age, they were expected to participate in the Festival of the Hunt, a yearly event where suitors would come from all corners of the land to show their worth. It was a celebration of strength, skill, and valor. But for Amina, it felt like a spectacle, something that was more about showing off than genuine connection. Each year, the festival would begin with a grand feast, where food was plentiful and music filled the air. The sound of drums, flutes, and the rhythmic dance of feet in the dust echoed through the village. It was a time of merrymaking, and it was during these celebrations that suitors would try to win the hearts of the young women. Many came with gifts. Some brought goats, others fine clothing, and even men from distant lands came with gold and jewels. But Amina wasn't interested in such things. She had seen many of the men at the festival, and most of them had a hunger for power or riches, not for the love of the land or its people. One day, as the festival approached, Amina's mother sat her down. "Amina," Mama Tiba said, her voice warm but firm. "The Festival of the Hunt is upon us. You know what this means, don't you? It is time for you to choose a husband." Amina looked out the window at the river that flowed lazily through their village, its surface shimmering under the midday sun. "I do not wish to choose a husband, Mama. Not yet." Mama Tiba frowned. "But you are of age, and the village has its ways. You must participate, my daughter. There is no other way." Amina sat silently, her mind swirling with thoughts. She knew her mother only wanted what was best for her, but Amina had different dreams. She didn't want a husband who saw her as a prize to be won. She wanted someone who would respect her, see the value in her thoughts, and understand the rhythm of her heart. But how could she express this to her mother? As the festival began, the village buzzed with excitement. Men arrived from distant places, each with his own flair. Some brought exotic fruits, while others displayed their strength by wrestling, lifting heavy stones, or climbing tall trees. It was a grand spectacle, and the people of Nkwazi watched with eager eyes. But Amina remained aloof, watching from the sidelines with her friends, her heart heavy with doubt. One evening, as the sun began to set, casting an amber glow over the village, Amina decided to take a walk by the river to clear her mind. The air was warm, and the soft murmur of the water soothed her restless thoughts. As she walked, she encountered a young man sitting by the bank, quietly carving a piece of wood into a small animal. The young man's name was Juma, and though he was not from Nkwazi, he had come to the village to learn the art of fishing. He had heard about the festival, but instead of participating in the grand competition, he preferred to sit by the river and observe. Amina had noticed him before. He was not like the other suitors. His presence was calm, his eyes thoughtful, and his hands skillful, yet gentle, as he worked with the wood. "Juma," Amina said, her voice soft but steady. "What brings you to this village?" Juma looked up from his work, surprised by the question. "I come from the village of Lambwa. I seek to learn the ways of the river, how to fish and live with the land. My people have always relied on the river, and I have much to learn." Amina smiled, sitting down beside him. "The river speaks to those who listen carefully," she said. "It is not just a source of life, but a reminder of the quiet strength that lies within all of us." Juma looked at her, his eyes intrigued. "And do you listen to the river, Amina?" "I do," she replied. "But sometimes I wish the world would listen to me." The two sat in silence for a moment, the only sound being the gentle lapping of the river against the shore. As the night grew darker, the stars began to twinkle in the sky, and the fireflies danced around them, their lights flickering like tiny sparks in the air. Over the course of the next few days, Amina and Juma spent more time together, walking along the river, exchanging stories about their lives and their dreams. He told her of his village and the elders who taught him the ways of nature, while she shared the stories her mother had taught her. They both found comfort in each other's company, as if they had known each other for years. But the village's festival continued, and soon the suitors began to take notice of Amina's absence from the grand celebrations. Some whispered that she was ignoring the festival, while others claimed that she was too proud to accept the attention of the suitors. Amina, however, cared little for their gossip. She had found something far more precious than gold or jewels. She had found a kindred spirit. As the festival neared its end, a grand feast was held in the village square. The people gathered to celebrate, and the suitors made their final attempts to win Amina's heart. But Amina had already made her choice. She stood before the gathering, her voice clear and strong. "I will not choose a husband based on gifts or power," she said. "I choose a man who understands the land, who listens to the river, and who sees me not as a prize, but as a partner." The village fell silent, their eyes shifting between Amina and Juma, who stood beside her. The elders looked on with approval, while the younger generation whispered in awe. And so, Amina and Juma's love story became one for the ages. A story of love rooted in respect, understanding, and the quiet power of listening. In time, Amina's story spread beyond the borders of Nkwazi, carried by the wind and whispered through the trees. The village, once rigid in its customs, began to shift. Young women, inspired by Amina's courage, began to seek love not for its outward appearance, but for the depth of connection it held. The festival of the hunt remained, but it no longer held the same weight it once did. Love, they now understood, was not something to be won or chosen in a contest. It was something that grew patiently, like the roots of a tree that reached deep into the earth. And so, in the village of Nkwazi, where the baobab trees still stand tall, Amina and Juma lived a life together. A life shaped by the rhythms of the land, the flow of the river, and the wisdom that can only be found when one listens with the heart.